Ladies and gentlemen of the Action Army, what is going on, and welcome to another episode of Answers for Athletes. In today's video, we have a question from Aaron Juckett7484, who says, during the basketball season, what are some things that you are doing with your athletes to prevent overuse injuries? As a coach, I try to gauge my players to see how hard to push them at practice between games, but I was curious as to what your thoughts are. This is a very good question, and I have a very good answer for you. But before I give you that answer, make sure that you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave your question down below if you want me to answer your question in a video just like this. And there's a link down below in the pinned comment and in the description of this video with access to my advanced training programs. $20 a month gets you access to any one of my programs. $40 a month gets you access to all of my programs, which I don't even know how many I have, but there's definitely 10 plus. Upper body, lower body, knee program. Be on there in strong and bouncy. Be on there in Project Plyo. Be on there in 1, 2, 3. Anyways, yes, everything is down below in that link. But let's get to it. So what are some things that I do with my athletes to prevent overuse injuries? I'm not sure that I have anything that you don't already know, but I will give you everything that I do and everything that I do have, just to give you a different take. Maybe I have a couple different takes than you as a coach. But also, I do want to point out that sometimes I feel like I make it seem like I am the head coach of the high school team. I am not the head coach, which is a very important point because I do not have full autonomy over what I do with the team. He does understand that this is what I do for a living, so he gives me actually I cannot recall a time where I have said, "Hey coach, I think that we should," actually I phrase things as questions. Do you think that we should do this? Especially during the games. Hey coach, they're blowing our faces off. Do you think that we should play man? But he understands this is what I do for a living. So there hasn't really been a time where I said, "Hey coach, can we try this? Can we add this? Can we do this instead? This is this." Normally he's very receptive to that. But I do not have full autonomy of the high school basketball team. There's a ton of things that I would do differently. But just understand that I am the JV coach. I'm the head coach of the AAU team, which is essentially all the same kids from our high school team. But nowadays, my youngest son, Cash, could be the head coach of an AAU team. Doesn't take much to enter into AAU tournaments. But here's what I do, and here's what we do as a team, the head coach and myself together. Actually, this first one is what we don't do, but what I would do if I was the head coach. You need a progressive ramp up. A lot of these kids, when you're talking about high school basketball players or even college basketball players, college, they tend to be a little bit more serious, obviously, but with high school basketball players, if they haven't played previous sports, like if they're not running cross country or playing football or doing something in the previous season, then they don't get that gradual ramp up. And a lot of coaches just want to crush their athletes. My head coach as well, like during tryouts, he runs them and runs them and runs them. And he basically just wants to purge all weakness. Like if you're not mentally tough, we've lost a lot of athletes that just by doing a ton of running, they've just quit because they just can't do the running. But I would do a progressive ramp up. That is obviously going to be the best thing that you can do to avoid overuse injuries is a gradual ramp up. However, the season comes quick, and from the time that you see athletes during tryouts to the time that you have your first game, like sometimes it's not really enough to be a gradual ramp up to get your guys in shape. But I would like a lot of the volume of sport to come from the sport itself, as opposed to running in the beginning, right? But some people see that differently. You got to get your kids in shape, but cardiovascular endurance is sometimes improved while leaving shin splints and tendinopathy as the side effects. But progressive ramp up, gradual ramp up is going to be the number one thing, but sometimes you can't do that as a coach. Isometrics are something that we do every single practice. And for my AAU team, we do ISOs before the first game that we play. So if we play at 9 a.m., ISOs are first. If we play at 2 p.m., ISOs are first. But we don't do them before every game just because we want that, 6 hours in between per the research, et cetera. But I don't want to get too far down to that. But isometrics, so we normally just do wall sits or lunge holds because it doesn't require any equipment. It just requires a wall or a floor in your body. 3 sets of 45 seconds, and that is going to alleviate some of the knee pain. I have a shin splint routine, which I just posted a video on, so I'm not going to go into that here, but shin splints and knee pain, tendinopathy, overuse, jumper's knee. That is what most athletes, those are the two most common overuse injuries that athletes see during season. So what I do to alleviate that is just add in isometrics and add in the shin splint routine that I posted in a previous video. And this is just, I just wrote a bunch of bullets, and these are just like my random thoughts. But when you have longer breaks, like a weekend or longer breaks in between games, you can push harder. So right now it is Christmas break, and we crushed all of the athletes before their break because they're going to have extra time off. We can't even get into the school to practice. They're going to get more time to sleep in, more recovery. So we crushed our athletes. We do have a Christmas tournament, but we crushed our athletes beforehand, and we can only get into the school 2 times to practice. So they will have more recovery. So Christmas break, long weekends, holidays that you can't get into the school and practice, longer time in between games, you can really crush your athletes more. You can do more intense practices and drills and workouts if you're doing strength training workouts when you know they have longer rest to recover. Like I said, you probably know all of this, but I'm just going to give you a couple different takes from my perspective. What we do, which I think is that this is good. This is on the head coach, but I agree with it, is sometimes when we have multiple games per week, like sometimes we have 3 games a week. Normally it's 2, sometimes it's 1, sometimes it's 3. But when we have 3 games a week, normally there's a team in there that we're going to beat pretty badly. So if you have a team that it's going to be a close game, or you think, they might have the upper hand and you really need to prepare for that team, then the day before or the 2 days before, you are going to, watch film on that team, and then you are going to practice what you are going to do against that team, the day before or the 2 days before. But if we have a team that we know we're going to beat no matter what, anything can happen on any day. But if it's a team that historically they're not very good, then we won't do that. We'll what am I saying? Okay, so if there's a game, right, 3 games a week, we just had a really intense game. Let's say on Monday we had an intense game. And Tuesday we have practice, but Wednesday we have another game with a team that we're going to beat pretty badly. On Tuesday, we will just watch film from the previous game. We'll take it as a light day. We're not preparing for that next team because we're probably going to beat them anyways. So it is going to be a lighter day on Tuesday, but that's really a given. We often do after action reports. So I got this from the Navy SEALs. I actually got this from Jocko Willink in his book, Extreme Ownership. But we do an after action report, which is just watching film from the previous game and then going into practice and clearing up the mistakes that we made from that previous game. Which you gotta, as a coach, you understand this, but you have to use your time very wisely. You only get a limited time with them. So sometimes if you have a team that you're going to beat, you can use your time differently. You can rest, recover. But if you are going to have trouble with that team, then you kind of got to push. You got to practice. You got to do some full court with what they're going to do, what that team, their defenses, their presses, etc. But all this. That doesn't have to do with that as much, but just figured I would point that out. What we do sometimes is if we have multiple games a week, we will cut the daily drills in half. So we have a handful of drills that we do every single day. Some of them I agree with, some of them I don't. But Like we will do 25 push-ups every practice, 25 sit-ups every practice, which I would when it's the moment that I become head coach, we're not doing sit-ups anymore. There's just so many other ways that we could train our core. But we do, like, we'll do 3-on-2, 2-on-1, the pacer drill, the chase down drill, a bunch of these different drills, and we will cut the time down or we will cut them in half. We do 15 push-ups instead of 25. Is that really going to matter? No. 15 sit-ups instead of 25 sit-ups. Is that going to matter? No. We do jumping jacks every practice. Like, they've been doing the same shit since I went to high school there, which I would change a lot of it. Not that it's bad. I just think there's more effective ways to do it. But instead of 100 jumping jacks, we'll do 50 jumping jacks. Just cut the time down of everything so that, you know, we're not beating up on their body as much. Less intense drills or less intense days. So spot shots, free throws, stationary handle, after action report, watching film instead of practicing, or watching film and then doing some drills that aren't going to break down their body as much instead of a really intense practice. And then for strength training, for the athletes that do strength training with me, I'm not sure if you do strength training with your guys, but not all of my guys do it. So, like, it's just hard to get some kids motivated. But I'm doing what they don't get from practice. So everything that I've said in these previous videos where I talk about how to train in season, that is what I'm doing. So they already get a bunch of reactive agility, low-level unorganized plyometrics. You guys get the deal. So I'm cutting down their training a little bit when we have games coming up, but I've talked about that in plenty of videos. So like I said, I don't know if I said anything in this video that is really going to be beneficial for you. You probably do all this, but these are kind of the things that we do to prevent overuse injuries. The progressive ramp up is going to be very important. ISOs every day in practice is going to be very important. That's one of the things that we do every single day before we get into the training. Very important. That shin splint routine for guys who get shin splints, that's going to be important for them to do every single day. And we let them do that at the beginning of practice, either with the trainer or by themselves. And then the push harder with longer breaks. It's just, a lot of it is common sense. Gauge players. You sound like you're doing a great job, but you got to gauge the players. If you see that their central nervous system is fatigued, or they're really tired, or everybody's, sluggish on a certain day, it might be time to give them a little bit of an extra break and do something not as taxing during practice. But not sure that this helped at all, but that is what we do on our high school basketball team. Like I said, tons of stuff that we do that I really like, tons of stuff that I would change. And whenever that day comes, if the day comes, I don't know, that I'm the head coach of the team, maybe I'll make another video on this talking about all the changes that I am making with the high school basketball team during practices, because I do feel like our time could be used a little bit more wisely. But anyways, that's it for this video. Like this video if you like it. Subscribe to the channel and leave your question down below if you want me to answer your question in a video just like this. But I will see you tomorrow at some point in time. Peace.